Hey guys, Scott here, and today I want to talk about some new information that's come out about MMR that sort of proves there's no real top MMR, kind of like we suspected. Troy did a video about some cheaters and how they're kind of having like a cheater gang war between DDoSing and stuff. I highly recommend you watch the video. It might actually apply to you. There's some kind of scary stuff in there. It's very good information, and he always does these great interviews with cheaters that are actually doing it. So I definitely recommend you watch his videos because Troy is absolutely based. But at the tail end of his video, he did talk with somebody that was data mining. I'm assuming they were using like Fiddler or something. Fiddler is like a program where you can extract live data from matches. It's bannable. Like you can't use it without getting banned. So I would not recommend using it, but it does let you see people's MMR and things like that. So what they gathered from all of this is that basically there is no top MMR because the cap has been like, it's 1600. So let's go back in time a little bit. When they first started making the MMR system, it was actually kind of somewhat accurate. I'm not saying they did a good job in terms of like, determining what skill is, but it was getting to the point where I was having, like 30-minute queue times when they were doing that initial test. We all remember Dowsey had a 2-hour queue time on his twins. So they did have a system that did accurately sort of match people with the appropriate skill level. The problem was people were waiting 40 minutes a match or, minimum if they were high up there. So it was extremely unpleasant to the point where people just couldn't even play the game. And that was obviously a huge issue. So at one point, they remade the cap, basically. They said, okay, well, if you get to this point, now you can match with everybody else. You don't necessarily have to be within X MMR of this guy. We're just going to implement this cap here. So if you get there, now you can just go against the top and you don't have to be as close to them to maybe make the matchmaking balance a bit better. And so they did that, and queue times got a little bit better. But then the queue times were still not super good. This was before matchmaking consensus and stuff like that. So they actually did it again. They made the matchmaking bounds even more different. And then they have basically decided that 1600 MMR is going to be the cap. I believe you start at like 700 or something like that, but 1600 MMR is the cap. And for some good comparisons, the data miners, cheaters, whatever you want to call them, they got information from other people. They found that most streamers are like at 2000, 2200 MMR, that sort of range. It's like super sweaty, never lose four-man comp teams are like at 2400, and they have a cheating bot that physically cannot lose the game ever that struggled to reach 3000. So that should give you a good sort of ballpark of how, the ranges are. But because 1600 is the cap, as soon as you go from 1599 to 1600, you are now eligible to go against, the four-man comp team and stuff like that. However, the difference between 2400 and 1600 is like a fourth of the entire MMR like number base. So you basically, it's not like a top 1%, it's like a top 25%, which basically is just the old red ranks. It's the old matchmaking that we used to have. So I'm glad it works like that, because if it didn't, then we'd be in queue forever. And I think that's why they made, frankly, the wise decision to kind of turn down the accuracy of their whole system rather than, going for purely accurate matches, because cure times would just be completely terrible. But it does sort of disprove that there's absolutely no like top MMR. Well, there is, but it's like 25% of all MMRs. So it's just such a giant value that it might as well just be red ranks again. We're in the same boat where you can actually go against that 2400 MMR guy that's going to absolutely destroy you, or go against the 1601 guy who's just going to be like, whatever. Like, there's so much room for skill difference in that 800 MMR difference that it might as well not even exist to begin with. So that's it. I just wanted to go over that. It was some interesting new information. Again, I highly recommend you watch Troy's video, because it is it's really got a lot of important information. But yeah, so once you cross that threshold, you're basically going against every other person that has crossed that threshold. And like he said, the only real difference is the higher MMR you are, the more games you can lose before you drop below that cap. But chances are, if you're a decent player, you're not ever really going to drop below that cap. You'll just keep sort of hovering in a certain area above that. So it definitely creates a scenario where you're just not really going against people of equal skill every match. It's going to be wildly fluctuating every single game, kind of as it always been, and frankly, as it always should, because that's the only way we're going to get decent queue times. Now, the one thing I will say is that, because I see this as completely useless and it's basically just the old red rank system. However, maybe on the lower end it's better. And this is something I can't verify for myself because I just don't have a new account. I can't like reset my MMR to whatever the base value is and play games there. So I'm curious if anyone's new to the game, are your base values, like, are your games feeling okay? I know it's harder to tell if you're new to the game, if the match is balanced or not, but I'm thinking maybe the system is actually benefiting that group of players, and that would justify that would justify its existence as opposed to right now. So if that's the case, if there's, less, like the very low MMR sections, if those games are feeling more fair, then that's a good thing. And overall, the system, I'd say, would be an improvement. But other than that, if that's not the case, then yeah, I don't know what the hell. But yeah, it's just interesting information. Wanted to talk about it. Again, thank you to Choi for showing all the stuff and letting me use USB roll. I didn't ask him if he DMCA's this. Honestly, Giga Chat, I'm gonna let him do it. That's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys.